Jon Jumper was a member of what was called by some commentators at the time one of the worst emo bands ever. Unicorns Killed My Girlfriend. But within a few years they would delete everything. This is a video about the band, and also what happened to Jon Jumper. UKMG's story starts in 2016 according to a now deleted post on Instagram, stating in 2016 our project saw its birth, death and at least 20 million views across the net somewhere in between. And what a year 2016 was for them. But it turns out the story goes back even further than that, to 2014 at least. Let me introduce you to Murder at the Dance Club. Although I would say information about both bands is a little scarce, let's start with MATDC and what still exists. According to Rate Your Music, they released 3 albums and an EP. 2014's WTF and 2015's Kill the Scene, Sick Obsessions and a self-titled EP. Sick Obsessions can be found partially on YouTube, with the 13-track version being uploaded seemingly in full. The 17-track version that was shown on Spotify not currently being available in full, it seems. From what I could find, they're actually almost all available on YouTube. The 05Starsy Guy 669 has uploaded every song minus 3, according to their playlist description at least. They also had a Twitter following, although the account doesn't exist now, and posted a lot on SoundCloud at the time, which has also been taken down. I will say I've been listening to the Sick Obsessions album as I've been writing this, and it's honestly not too bad musically, from what I've heard at least. Their Reverb Nation profile reads as follows. Founded in 2014 by lead singer and producer John Jay and vocalist Danny Houston, Murder at the Dance Club, also known as MATDC, is an electronic music group from Chicago, Illinois. Murder at the Dance Club tends to often implement many heavy metal and metalcore influenced elements into their music. Since their humble beginnings, MATDC attracted the majority of their fan base and critic base through their song entitled Sex God. The song featured extremely explicit lyrics and what many fans describe as a pretty catchy tune. Many people's first impression of Murder at the Dance Club was that it was either a joke or rip-off of the group known as Blood on the Dance Floor. Murder at the Dance Club received what Danny Houston referred to as a shitload of uncalled for hate for the similarities between their band name and Blood on the Dance Floor. Murder at the Dance Club has been both admired and hated for being what critics and fans alike describe as the closest thing to Blood on the Dance Floor out there. In July of 2014, Danny Houston announced that he was officially leaving Murder at the Dance Club due to his lack of interest in being in a band that was as hated as MATDC. His post is as follows. Hey everyone, it's been a crazy ride, but I don't think I can do MATDC anymore. There's so much fucking hate and not enough love, I'm sorry, but not sorry enough. In late 2014, John Jay released a series of tracks via SoundCloud, which resulted in a spike of recondition for Murder at the Dance Club. Because of this, with because spelled wrong, John Jay also went on to release an EP entitled Murder at the Dance Club EP that year. Murder at the Dance Club has since announced work on a studio album in collaboration with the music artist Stars Above, and released a well-received single entitled Shut Me Down. The album is rumoured to be entitled World of Hate and is set to be released in mid-2015. John Jay would later be known as Jon Jumper, by the way. I also don't know how much of it is true. They did do a song with Stars Above, but there was never an album with them exactly. There were 2 songs called Shut Me Down, as I mentioned, and Fall Apart from the self-titled EP. That wasn't the only song, but it wasn't an album from what I can tell. Unicorns Killed My Girlfriend would actually release Sick Obsessions Resurrected while they were around. Although this isn't too surprising because the Murder at the Dance Club channel was actually turned into the Unicorns Killed My Girlfriend channel, which I figured out while trying to find those hate comments on Twitter. The channel URL was also DubTurboHD, which doesn't yield any results outside of when it was linked in the description of collabs with Hair Jordan. Unicorns Killed My Girlfriend would form in around 2016 according to their own Instagram, but late 2015 according to a different source. Years later, according to an interview, John would go on to say the following, and just to clarify, this is representation of John from what I've researched. Sometimes serious and sometimes satirical, but this is what he had to say. UKMG was created by me and my 2 imaginary friends whilst I was serving time in for stabbing a kid in the neck with a pen. When I received my first handwritten letter, I was automatically grounded back into reality reality. My friends were gone and I was left with nothing but the desire to make music. Me and my cellmate convinced the younger inmates to riot and misbehave until the administrators let us have karaoke night once a month instead of gym class for the day. My buddy got cold feet when I told him we should do hardcore scream vocals over pop songs. Two females overheard my plan and quickly joined me in screaming over Lady Gaga tracks. Gaga's music just felt right to do metal vocals to. After 3 sessions over the course of 4 months, we were forced to return to our regular schedule and the younger inmates started raging on the guards harder than ever. I remember seeing 3 buff guards slamming this little kid with blonde hair into the ground and not being able to restrain him until they shot his ass up with suspicious fluid. Shit like that really motivated me to work on more practical and emotional reasons to convince my parents to fight for my release. That's when things got even weirder. I started connecting with people on the phone claiming to be celebrities, contractors, and even mob members. Mostly sympathetic but disturbed as to who I was and who let them call their phones. Eventually I was pulled into the master office where I was informed that I was being released early as long as I signed a contract agreeing to relapse within the next 3 years. The whole discharge process is sort of a blur, but I'm glad to be back with my family despite not being able to relate to any of their lives anymore. This drove me to drop out of school and pursue singing, rapping, and producing. What's weird is this was in 2020, 4 to 5 years after the band formed and years after they'd originally disbanded. Although around the time Problem came out, it was covered by many popular channels. For example, Leafy covered it, Daz Games covered it, Frank That Frank covered it too. Even Memeals made a video about them. It was everywhere, and not for good reasons. The general consensus being that it was bad, and even some labelling it the worst song ever made. According to a fan-written page, the events go as follows, but I don't know how reliable it is, but the history of the band is pretty all over the place and not cited properly anywhere as far as I know. But I'm just going to take this at face value for the sake of it. It states, after releasing a song entitled Raw Bitch, featuring vocals from Scarlett Skyey, Scarlett decided to join the project as vocalist despite living in a different state than John. Soon after, the duo released an EP entitled Raw XD under independent label Deadbite Records. This can be validated as Raw XD was once on Spotify and some of it can be found online. The date says 2012, but as far as I know that just isn't the case. In early 2016, John moved to Michigan to be with Scarlett in person in order to take the band and their relationship to the next level. This included changing the musical direction of the band as well as recruiting Shady Josh as the group's screamer. Josh has a very minimal online presence but would change his name seemingly to Pizza Josh and feature on a single after leaving the band. The group's first single featuring vocals from all 3 members, entitled Problem, was released alongside a music video for the song and went viral on Facebook. The video was critiqued by many popular YouTubers and received generally a negative response. Due to a constant barrage of death threats and cyberbullying targeted at Scarlett, combined with personal issues with her relationship with John, a mutual agreement was made for her departure from the group. Scarlett can still be found online as she's a tattoo artist these days. John and Josh began writing a full-length album which sought to take the band in yet another direction, this time being a more serious one. However, due to personal issues, John returned to his previous home in Virginia, thus leaving Josh in Michigan and eliminating him from the band despite previous discussions regarding the band's future. Don't know the validity of this part, but they did release an album called STFU in 2016. It also goes on to say, John and Scarlett have broken up and he is now with Roxy Love, a new member of UKMG. Roxy is 16 and lives in Florida. This was one of the things that made headlines outside of the music. He was 21 and she was 16, although they allegedly started dating when she was 15, if a UKMG video title is to be believed. But there's a bunch of posts on her Facebook to say they were actually together at the time. But given how John is about things, I really don't know. Interestingly, they actually formed a band in 2017 called Dead X, where she was the vocalist, with John, Cody, and Jordan. One video exists online of a song on a channel called Zim Jumper, which interestingly also features an upload of a UKMG song from 2021, which if you look further actually leads you to what seemingly is another channel of theirs, with another song entitled Bleed from around the same time. Me saying another channel may confuse you. Well, unfortunately but also understandably, the original channel doesn't exist anymore. Despite Problem having literally millions of views, in late 2017 to early 2018 the channel would private and republicise videos. Although this wasn't the end of the channel was still around until June 9th, 2020. The channel was sitting at over 50,000 subscribers and had been rebranded to Hard to Kill, which is presumably an entertainment company owned by John, or something like that, which can be somewhat backed up by this YouTube video. Some songs were posted to a SoundCloud under the name HTK Official, which one can imagine is Hard to Kill official, which is now just wiped and called Fuck Your Shit 55. It's also worth mentioning that around this time, Jon and a group of others would do multiple collabs with Hair Jordan. They even did at least one song together. They had an emo squad of sorts around 2016-2017. But between the end of UKMG and the comeback and ending again, Jon had been doing music under a different name, in a different style even. Let me introduce you to Lil Zim. 2018 will come along and UKMG was put by the wayside, and so was crunkcore because Jon was about to invade the hip hop scene under the alias Lil Zim. I originally thought this section was going to be a long one, but it turns out there's someone else who operates under the same name, who I got him confused with. But he does have some sort of an online presence. His music was at one point on Spotify, although it no longer is, which is the same story with UKMG. He released an album or EP called Playboy Zimmy in 2021, according to Amazon Music at least, although it's not playable. What is playable though is a track called White Girls, which is on YouTube and it's linked to something called Girls Only, the label, which I'm guessing is his own. You can actually listen to two of his albums, Girls Only and Zimmy World, through TikTok Music of all places, and one song from Playboy Zimmy. There was also apparently Girls Only 2 and Girls Only 3, with Girls Only 3 being the most recent release from 2021. There's also a YouTube channel linked that is him but has no videos. About Girls Only, there's actually an Instagram and there was a release in 2021 by Roxy Love from UKMG. It was called Memphis Princess under the name Zanny Baby, according to this post at least. There was seemingly an Instagram account for Zanny Baby, but now it's just Roxy's backup account it looks like. She even released an album. Although sadly, Playboy Zimmy hasn't tweeted since 2021, although White Girls was uploaded in 2022, but it does look like his TikTok is gone, and I was honestly a bit worried, but I do have news. There is closure. Because luckily, that isn't where the story ends. Because guess who's back? That's right, Unicorns Killed My Girlfriend are back. Seriously. New music, a new channel, new Facebook page, everything. And yes, that is Jon Jumper. So now that's out the way, let's talk about what happened to the rest of the band. If you're wondering what happened to Roxy, she's now doing modelling and some adult stuff which can be found via her Facebook page, Twitter and her TikTok too. She's pretty active at the moment actually. Josh, also known as Pizza Josh or Shady Josh, or Rainbow Flex on Facebook, he now seemingly has a family and lives a normal life. Scarlett, as I mentioned earlier, is now a tattoo artist. There's a bunch of other people who were around at that time that I can't find anything about, like Marika. She's mentioned in a couple of video titles and in thumbnails too. Apparently she went by Marika Monster. I have no idea what happened to her or where she is, although I did find someone who I think may be her, but I'm not going to throw accounts out there. If it is her, then she's well and fine. I also can't find anything about Carson Chaotic. There were also other people around then in the background that appeared in things, but given so much is lost, it's difficult to piece it all together. For example, if the videos were still online or archived on the Wayback Machine, they may have posted links to social media accounts, and then they may be traceable and there might be some answers through that, but it just doesn't exist. But hopefully this does answer what happened to Jon Jumper.